Hi guys, welcome back to another tutorial. In this one we'll do basics of Tyflow. To start off, just wanted to clarify that Max in itself has a particle system in its creative panel. You click and drag, there you have its basic system, but we want to do something that's a little bit more clearer and easier, which is what Tyflow can use and give to us. So here we go. To start off with Tyflow, you want to go into the creative panel, and at the bottom of the standard parameters you have to click and drag the Tyflow symbol into your environment to start. When you go into the modified panel as well, you have the Tyflow settings already set for you, so you can have a look around and see what Tyflow has to offer for us, which we'll go through now. And the first setting is the editor. When you click it, you have a lot of components here that you can work with, and getting out of that, you also can see on the side there are different options and settings that have to do with the components in the editors tab. So we want to first of all enable all of our settings. You can also play around with the frameworks. There are also settings for gravity. Some examples can be whether or not you want your object to fly through the ground or actually show that it is in contact with the ground. These sort of settings you can look through and play around with the values until you're quite fine with what you want to achieve. Now let's begin by opening our editor again. Like I said before, there are a lot of components you can look at and experiment in. All have their different categories based on their colors and functions as well. This also makes it easier to search up when you're looking for a particular component for Tyflow. Let's start off with something simple. We'll right click on our screen and find Objects Flow, and selecting that you'll come up with its own component. Now once that's selected, you can see the component, and if you move your screen a little further, you have a object that's placed on your environment. What's cool about this is now with the timeline but underneath, you can move that, and then all these particles from this center point start to move. This is generated based off the settings from Tyflow in modifier panel, where you can then see how much or how little at a time these little boxes can move out. Now by clicking the birth component in your environment, you can now start to edit how much you want these particles to have, when to start it, when to end it, as well as the frames of which the timing of these particles can start to grow. Then you want to select speed. Here you can then see how fast you want the particles to sort of grow. You can also select how they want to sort of spread out. Right now they're spread out randomly. You can now decide which ones you prefer. We'll see the horizontal side. In shapes, you can start to see and change what kind of shape you want it to be. Of course, this one's on default with a cube looking shape, you can change this in the settings here. If you want like a pebble, if you want a triangle, this is all under the 2D, two-dimensional settings. There's also an option for the three-dimensional side as well. Similar process where you can select the drop-down menu and select which kind of shapes you want to experiment with. A very convenient thing you could do is reference a particular object you want to use. Let's say you want a teapot, for example. So going into your creative panel and place a teapot in your environment, and then back into the editor under reference, you want to link that object to your Tyflow, making sure that your object of choice is selected before you reference. So right now, once your object is referenced, you can do the exact same as every other object in the default range can do, and that's the same with what we saw before. So spreading it apart, or for example, having these particles shoot out from one spot and spread it randomly through the horizontal or vertical axes, depending on how you want these settings to look like. Another option in the display settings is to basically, if you want to show them in a different form, so you've got dots, you've got bigger dots, etc., based off the settings shown above. Or you could just simply leave it with the geometry that you've referenced or selected from before. And that's it for the basics of Tyflow. In the next video, we'll try and do another tutorial on working with the physics of Tyflow.